New York.
In New
The
York.
company name, Gaura Prabhu might be knowing, it's Wegmans.
Oh, yes, big food store.
Yeah.
Okay, everything you're saying now is going out to the entire world.
New York. Oh,
New York.
is it true?
The whole world is hearing about your glories, Shikarani.
I have not told.
Podcast.
I think he's
Well,
too soon.
actually, it wasn't
is
started
all going out.
immediately. Now it's on.
Okay, good.
The whole devotee community is being blessed by whatever you say.
Thank you.
So, Baba Tarini, would you and Nrihari like to sing the Krishna book song for us, please?
The
Would you do that?
Krishna, that one? Krishna.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to have your instruments. It's always nice, but unless anyway, it's up to you. I want to honor you to do that.
You don't want
Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Raghava, Rama, Raghava, Rama, Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna, Keshava, Krishna, Keshava, Krishna, Keshava, Pahimam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam.
Krishna, 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 Hare Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam.
O Lord Krishna, please protect us and maintain us. O Lord Rama, descendant of King Raghu, please protect us. O Krishna, O Keshava, killer of the Keshi demon, please maintain us. I wonder if this is coming from any specific Shastra. Prabhupada gave it to us. But
it's in Chaitanya
Charitamrita, that's the way Lord Chaitanya would walk down roads. Whenever he traveled to South India, as the Kaviraj Goswami said, he would be singing this.
But he also sang Hari Haraya Nama Krishna.
Right, also.
The Hari Haraya was a group of devotees.
Yeah, but the Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita.
That's right, I remember.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, like, a lot of times what's in there might be coming from Padma Purana or something much because Chaitanya Charitamrita is only 530 years old. It's quite recent.
Yeah, and Lord Chaitanya is eternal.
That's true.
But yeah,
the thought just popped into my head.
You're absolutely right, because he plays the role of devotee. So, like you said, it must be somewhere in an Upanishad, Katha Upanishad, or like that, Purana. I think we used to have that somewhere.
Interesting. Very interesting. All right. So yeah, I just noticed before I came on, I lost my Krishna book link, and anyway, I looked it up, and we're now on the pastime tonight of Vidyadhara, Liberated. And if you remember this pastime, I don't remember it very well. Maybe do you remember? You might even know who did the painting.
I don't know.
Let me see.
Can you show it to us? And we'll see. I never wrote a song about it.
This is a very.
But I know that Nanda Maharaj went in the water at the wrong time to take his bath.
that was with Varuna, getting in the clutches of Varuna.
This one
he's swallowed. He's been
the
swallowed.
snake. Yeah, I know he's being swallowed by a snake. I thought it was the same mistake that he went in the water. But
really? Maybe so. Let's find out.
No, I don't remember. I didn't write a song about it. If I didn't write a song about it, I don't remember.
Well, there you go. Another project for you.
Well, somebody has to do a
Do you
puppet
remember
show.
who painted this?
No, I don't know who painted it.
Let
It
me
kind of
just,
looks a little bit like Devahuti.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Could it be?
You
But
see,
David-
Balaram is off to the left there. He's kind of like got his hand to his head, like what's going on?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually, yeah, I'm not sure who did this. It's, I didn't know all the artists back when I first had Krishna book. People didn't
Rameshwar
know.
would know. Pushkar would know. They know.
Yeah,
I
Pushkar.
always contact Pushkar and Rameshwar. They always.
They always know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
Let us know next
Yeah.
time.
yeah, I'll have to do a little research on that. Okay, now where's the actual? There we are. Okay, chapter 33, Vidyadhara, liberated, and the demon Sankhasura killed. It doesn't look like we have Krishna Chandra with us tonight, do we?
Oh,
It's not.
Oh, that's awful.
I'm just asking because I'm wondering. Excuse me. He's
Oh,
usually. Thank you. You know, the blessings I can get. I'm wondering if someone can look up in the
it's just
meantime
weird.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur demons, and find out what Vidyadhara and Sankhasura represent, if there's a representation. I know it's in the Krishna Samhita, this
Right.
and that's also in the Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita, I believe, also that
Yeah,
information.
it should be in there.
So
I don't
how
have
does
it.
he look
I
it up?
ordered,
No, he looks it up on Google. What
or
does
you
he
can go with a
Google?
base.
What does he Google?
Well, I could just do it right now.
Okay.
Okay, Vidyadhara Sankhasura Bhakti Vinod
Shankar.
I thought it was Shankasura.
demons. Excuse me, yeah, typo. Let's see if anything comes up here.
There it is.
You see which one should we look at? The first one? No.
Yeah, sure.
Bhagavatam Katam? No, I don't think that's the one.
I should put Bhakti Vinod, but we don't have Bhakti Vinod here.
Right. Oh, I know. Gosai.com. Narsingha Maharaj, he has this information. Gosai
Oh,
.com. He has this information there. Okay, I'll just have to take out all this information and just go directly to gosai.com. Content related to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Removal of anarthas. I think this is
There
it.
it is.
Yeah. Okay. Shakatasura, Trinavarta, Bakasura,
but
Dhenukasura,
not Shankar.
Vilambasura.
Yeah.
The snake. Okay, that must be it.
That's it.
The snake which attempted to swallow Nanda Maharaj represents a devotee's inclination in ecstasy to merge with Krishna. As a Vaishnava's happiness continually increases in the process of worship, one sometimes loses consciousness. At that time, the feeling of merging may overcome one. This feeling of merging with the Lord is the snake that swallowed Nanda Maharaj. A practitioner who remains free from the snake will become a qualified Vaishnava. Interesting.
Yeah.
What we'll see it here.
That if you're experiencing too much ecstasy, you may want to merge with Krishna. You have to avoid that.
Yeah. But it says you become unconscious, so you don't have control. So that's
Haribol Sangi, welcome. Obeisances to you. Thank you.
Hi, Rasangi.
Is that you speaking, Rasangi, or was that Babatrini?
Me. I said Jai Rashangi.
Oh, okay.
Sangi till now. She's not here.
She's not here.
Oh, okay. You sounded to me like her for a moment. Okay. And Shankachuda, symbolizes the desire to acquire fame and women through the practice of bhakti. This abominable activity is quite common among pseudo devotees, and real Vaishnavas always avoid the association of such despicable persons. Strong words here.
Yes.
Despicable persons.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll go back to that. Here's one that I don't remember reading before. Just going back to Govardhan Hill for a minute. Defeating Indra by lifting Govardhan Hill is Krishna's direct instruction to his devotees that the worship of minor demigods for material gain is unnecessary and an obstacle to bhakti. Deluded by madness, some devotees may fall victim to intoxication, thinking that alcohol, marijuana, LSD, and other such intoxicants are helpful in advancing in Krishna consciousness. It's not the first time I heard that. However, the happiness in Vraj, known as Nanda, cannot be enhanced by any external or material supplement. I wonder if that applies to ashwagandha.
Supplements.
Ashwagandha.
Vitamin C.
Right. I'm wondering if that applies to magnesium, vitamin D.
Right.
Those are my drugs of choice. Therefore, Krishna is saving Nanda Maharaj from the court of Varuna, who symbolizes intoxication. Interesting. Is to discourage such practices among the devotees.
In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya jump into the Ganges, and they're floating down and they come out. Oh, maybe I have the story backwards. Anyway, they go to someone's house and he gives them prasadam, and then he says he wants to give them some ananda. And he brings out the alcohol.
Who does that?
Some yogi that Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda graced with their presence and had prasadam
as they were coming, they came out of the Ganga. They were going somewhere,
and they ran and jumped in
the
Ganges.
You mean to escape from the people that were offering them liquor?
But they already had prasadam, and then he said, "Now I want to give you some ananda." And they just jumped back in the Ganges and floated away.
Is that in the Chaitanya Bhagavat?
No, Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Really? Wow. I need to read it again. It's like that's not fresh in my memory. Wow. Okay.
Hare Krishna,
who's there? Shuddha Sindhu is back.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
All the way from is it Penang in Malaysia? Penang?
Yes.
Wow, thank you for coming. Does your son ever listen to our readings?
No, because he has a morning online class.
So while you're doing this with us, he's having his own class?
At 9 a.m. Later at 9 a.m.
Okay, but where is he now?
Now still sleeping.
Oh, sleeping.
He's still sleeping.
All right. Yeah, it'd be nice if you can. What time is it now in Malaysia?
8:50 a.m.
Oh, okay. All right. He needs his rest. His health has improved a lot from those photos that you shared.
He gets better now.
Yeah, you did a great job. And
no more injection.
No more injections for him. Yeah. Thank you for protecting him. Baba Trina, I just have to say I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but right now you're looking quite healthy and vibrant. That could be misleading, but just the fact that you had the operation, you look like you're doing good.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks.
You're still recuperating.
I'm recuperating, but not in very much pain. And I'm tired. I'm really tired because I've been just laying around for 2 weeks.
No, we're using herbal. The pharmacy here, the pharmacist does both. It's kind of holistic. So he recommended this herb that grows all over Asia. And
Which one?
I think it's called Kraton or Kraton.
Uh-huh.
It's not crack.
Keratin.
What
No,
is it?
no,
No,
it's a plant.
no, it's
No,
not keratin.
No, it's not keratin.
It's something we've never
It's,
heard of
it's
before.
a plant.
It's a root.
It grows all over Asia, and is sold commercially here, but through health food stores. But the pharmacist has it. So when she got the prescription for ibuprofen,
800.
800, he said this is better because it won't hurt your liver.
No side effects. Yeah.
Right.
One side effect, but the only effect is that makes her sleepy, and it would just.
Yeah, but I didn't take it since yesterday. It's just I now that I'm not in excruciating pain, I'm starting to do more things, but I'm really tired.
Creton?
We don't know.
No, I think it was the K or K.
Oh.
I'll find out. He gave us some free samples, and
I'm
Yeah.
always interested in learning, so I can pass that information on to others.
We'll ask them.
It's a painkiller,
And it's without
side
prescription.
effects.
No, it's not
Cool.
a prescription.
That's the kind of information we need to be passing on.
Yeah, like kava is like that. It has no side
Right.
effects.
Yeah.
Well, I heard it can,
Or
depending on how much you take for the liver, it could be a little taxing for the
No,
liver.
No,
Bogus.
that's
That's
rumors.
bogus.
That's bogus.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we're part of the Kava Growers Association.
Oh, okay. Wow.
New Age. We work with the University of Hawaii,
We aren't.
and we work, and we had the UC Davis Department of Toxicology, the head of it, come in to talk to all of us at that time, because that was a few years ago when the Germans, it was Bayer, paid by Bayer.
They were
They
trying
put all
to.
over the papers the story that
They were trying to discredit kava because it was interfering with what was the drug?
at that time it was the coming out of Prozac and all those.
Yeah. That's their
Yeah.
usual
Yeah, it was
modus
competition. It was
operandi.
competition.
Yeah, and you cannot have monopoly.
Thank you for that.
You cannot
Thank you for-
patent. Sure, you cannot patent a natural product.
They
An
tried
herb
turmeric,
plant.
and they tried with the DIN
Yeah.
number, et
So
cetera, et cetera.
the next thing that they do is GMO it.
Discredit it.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
they GMO it, then they can patent it. Sorry.
Then they can patent it,
Yeah.
because they change the DNA and then
Yeah. Just like they're trying to do with us. Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to GMO us and then they can patent us.
That's
Okay.
right. Okay. Chapter 33, Vidyadhara, liberated and the demon Sankhasura killed. It's interesting because in the GoSci.com site, it said Shankachuda. So it seems that sometimes he's called
that's different. Yeah, Sankhasura.
Sankhasura. Yeah.
Well, maybe instead of calling him a demon, they called him a chuda. The first part's the same. Shanka. No,
Right.
Shanka.
Once
So
upon a
who-
time, the coward men of Vrindavan, headed by Nanda Maharaj, desired to go to Ambikavana to perform Shivaratri performance. The Rasa Leela was performed during the autumn, and after that, the next big ceremony is Holi, or the Dola Yatra ceremony. Between the Dola Yatra ceremony and the Rasa Leela ceremony, there is one important ceremony, which is called Shivaratri, which is especially observed by the Shaivites. I think it's coming up, isn't it? Shivaratri.
Usually it's about February, around
Is
February.
it? Oh,
I don't
okay. All right, next year.
I think
Right.
this Rasalila is the one maybe refers to Vasanti or the springtime,
Mm,
because he says between Rasalila and
And holy.
Holi. There are several occasions of Holi.
Oh, okay.
The Shaivites, devotees of Lord Shiva, but sometimes the Vaishnavas also observe this ceremony because they accept Lord Shiva as the foremost Vaishnav. But the function of Shivaratri is not observed very regularly by the bhaktas or devotees of Krishna. Under the circumstances, it is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam that the coward men, headed by Nanda Maharaj, once upon a time desired. That means that they were not regularly observing the Shivaratri function, but that once upon a time, they wanted to go to Ambikavana out of curiosity. Does anyone know where Ambikavana? Oh, here it is explaining. Ambikavana is situated somewhere in the Gujarat province. Ambikavana is said to be situated on the river Sarasvati, yet we do not find any Saraswati river in the Gujarat province. Because I think Sarasvati went underground, didn't she?
Yes.
I think.
It did.
The only river there is Savarmati. In India, all the big places of pilgrimage are situated on nice rivers like the Ganges, Jamuna, Saraswati, Narmada, Godavari, Kaveri, etc. Ambikavana was situated on the bank of Saraswati, and all the coward men and Nanda Maharaj went there. Maybe you can help me with this. I haven't recited. Oh, Hare Krishna, Nanda Patni is finally back with us again, once again. And Rasangi's there too, obeisances. So I remember when I used to do the services of a Brahmin for the deities, because I've been a pujari amongst other things. And so I remember, I don't know if it'll come back to me, before doing Achman, we wrap the Brahmin thread around our finger and then take this finger without putting the fingernail in the Achman cup and chant Ganges cha Jamuna chaiva Godavari Saraswatum Naramodi Sindhu Kaveri Galismin. What is it? Galismin.
Oh, I forgot. It's been many years. 76, I was Pujari.
Ganges cha Jamuna chaiva Godavari Saraswatum Naramodi Sindhu Kaveri Galismin. Da-da-da-da-da.
Yes.
Can't remember the last line of that.
We actually used to do that before putting on tilak also. But I
Oh, well, I thought that was Lalete Keshavam Dayan Narayanam Atodere.
Oh, right.
A little different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boy, I need to brush up on these. When you live in the temple, it's like second nature.
Your service is puja too.
Yeah.
So many things, and they had some mudras to do and like that before, over all the paraphernalia before it's offered. Like
I was the pujari for Shishi Gorni Tai at the Ottawa temple, and these Gorni Tais are about the same size as the Radha Damodar, golden Radha, and Lord Chaitanya's got his one arm up and one arm down, but both of them, Chaitanya and Nityan, and Vishnu John Swami saw those. And he wanted them for his buses. But our temple president in the Ottawa temple, Amsu, who I never had a chance to meet, but he was living in Alaska, last I heard, and he left his body. But he said, no, sorry, they're already paid for. So when I wasn't traveling on the road, doing traveling Sankirtan, I became their pujari, 6 cookings a day and 6 offerings a day. And I felt, I want to say this properly because I don't want to make any offense to the Lord, but I mean, of course it was voluntary, but never in my entire life was my life so regulated as when I felt I was chained to those deities and I just couldn't just go away and just go where my mind wanted to take me. No, I had to be there to cook for them 6 times a day. And, you have to be properly bathed. And, if you go to the toilet, then you got to take a shower. And so you got to be careful not to eat too much because you don't want to have to go to the toilets and then you have to take another shower.
That's love.
And then nobody.
That's love.
Yes.
That's love.
Yes.
Oh, that's mighty bhakti.
No, it's love.
No, I know.
It's love.
but I'm
But
just saying,
Vrindavan was the same for me. I was doing all those. So 2:30 a.m. Nitai will come and try to wake me up. I was already. I heard that Bhaktisiddhanta would wake himself up. Didn't use a clock, and so I programmed myself to. Somehow it worked, and so
you programmed yourself to wake up without a clock.
Yeah.
Very
at
good.
2:30. 2:30, and
Very
then all day was engagement in everything for Krishna Balaram and Lalita and Vishaka.
We go and we greet the deity.
Aartis.
First of all, we knock on. At least I was trained. You knock on the door of the deities, and you chant Utishta Utishta Shri Guru Taja Nidra Kripamoy. You're asking Srila Prabhupada, please arise from your slumber, and you do that for Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah.
And Lord Nityananda and Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, and Krishna. Actually, it's bringing some good memories because I remember my mad mind was being controlled, and I felt I could see how I was raging, but I was committed to do that service. But I could see it was against my grain because I'm just so heavily conditioned, such a heavy conditioned soul. But I could feel the purification. I could feel the Lord's, I could feel that my consciousness was changing by this service. But at the same time, I felt like I was Gornitai's prisoner. So, you know what I'm saying? Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to go on Harinam. I wanted to go. Yeah. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. But anyhow, no, my experience was I was very happy because I was engaged. There was no time for anything. And I remember at one point it got so hot, you had to wash your own clothes. So I would go to the roof of the Krishna Balaram, the guest house, and pull my dhoti up.
It wouldn't take long to dry.
5 minutes at the most. Oh, Chandra, Krishna Chandra. So it would just be dry and there's so many regulations. We were doing Nitai began to translate the Hari Bhakti Vilas.
Oh wow!
So it was such an important book, and in it you can learn how Krishna, Mother Jashoda, for example, dressed Krishna Balaram.
Oh, nice.
It's such a meditation all day long.
Those were his boys.
So those are my boys. I left them. It was terrible. I had to leave my visa. I mean, they were very strict. They would come every day to the temple to check our passports and like that. Almost every day.
When I say that I felt like I was prisoners of Gornitai, I mean a prisoner of love. I don't mean
that's what I got from what you were saying.
Yeah, that I was captured by I was agreeing to be captured by the Lord. I'm just saying I never had any other experience like this in all the different services I've done. That was a service that, book distribution is a tough one. I mean, everyone who's here that's been a book distributor, they know that it requires our entire mind, body, and soul, right? Because sometimes Krishna is not giving the results. And or we might become a little bit proud or something that we're doing well. And then all of a sudden, people may not be taking. And, I remember being with the Pragosh Prabhu and those devotees at O'Hare. And I remember one of those book distributors even like crying and banging his head against the lockers, trying to have a breakthrough because he was having some difficulty getting the books out that particular day. So book distribution is another very absorbing and demanding service. But being a pujari, it's a very demanding service, but it's so purifying.
Right. It is. Yeah, it's complete.
Yeah, I was going to say there was the pujari here at the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. His name was Ramai.
Yes.
Oh, I know him from Chicago. He was in Chicago temple before.
Really, he did all the offerings there for years.
Wow.
Years and years.
Yes,
And he passed away, I don't know, it must be about 6 or 7 years ago now. But anyone who serves their lordships there now are just completely mind-boggled as to how Ramai
he did it.
Did all of it every day for years and years and years on end. Yeah.
But he also managed to ride his bike 30 miles a day.
What?
Yes, I remember.
Every day.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was friends.
He was good friends with Bahulavan. I think they joined together.
Wow. I know what it means to drive 30 miles a day. And I mean,
Ride a bicycle.
A bicycle.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
a
a
great way to
bicycle.
stay in shape. Great way to stay in shape. Very good for the health. Yeah. This paragraph made reference to Shivaratri, and it was saying, that this is not the custom of Vaishnavas, but I was speaking, not or at least a regular custom. I was speaking with our godbrother Ramanath Sukha Prabhu, who was president in the Philadelphia temple at one point in the 70s, helping Ravindra Swarup there. And he was, when I first met him, he was the cook at Govinda's in the South Street in Philadelphia. Anyway, he just got permission from Bhaktivedanta Manor to make the presentation on Shivaratri. So I guess, like, as you were saying, Hari, that might be like maybe in February or whenever. But he's making a whole slideshow, and he's got like this huge meditation on Lord Shiva. He was thinking, he jokes with me sometimes that devotees must think, oh wow, maybe he's smoking ganja or something because he's a big Shiva bhakta, but he doesn't. He's a serious devotee, and he likes to emphasize that Lord Shiva, at least the point I think he was making is that the Shiva that we worship, is Sada Shiva, is actually Vishnu himself.
Well, he's 90.
Gopishvara Mahadev, Sada Shiva.
That's
So
different.
that's Advaita Acharya.
Yeah.
Right.
But we were just reading in Krishna book that those who want to imitate Lord Shiva and smoke ganja are calling death.
Yeah.
That was in the last chapter.
Right. Dangerous stuff.
Yeah.
But the point being that even still a lot of the Indian community, they may not understand Shiva Tattva. I used to have that little book. I think Srila Narayan Maharaj had a little book called Shiva Tattva.
Shiva Tattva.
I don't know if I have that anymore.
It's very good. We have it.
Okay, here's a question for you. Okay, Yata Vaishnavanam Shambhu. We know Lord Shiva to be, the greatest of Vaishnavas. Now, why don't we see Lord Shiva depicted with Vaishnav tilak? Why is he wearing the 3 stripes? Is that a concoction of the Hindus that if he's the greatest Vaishnav, then surely he'd have the most paka Vaishnava tilak. So what is the explanation?
Yeah, the details I'm not sure, but I don't think it's a speculation. And then, Krishna wears tilak, but it's not the tilak that we wear. Also,
I don't
Prabhupada
know.
spoke about their independent personalities too. I mean, Shiva is very difficult to understand. I mean, he has a post here in the material world where he's worshipped as a demigod, and it's a total. Then people are, and he then it's a different thing than to worship him, accept him as Vaishnava, and then as Sada Shiva.
He's not Vishnu Tattva, though. Sada Shiva.
He's got his own planet in the spiritual world.
But
so.
he's 99% Krishna. So he's not quite Vishnu Tattva, even at the highest.
Sada Shiva, you're saying?
Yeah.
At the same time, if when we study this history of Advaita Acharya, how Lord Chaitanya accepts him as this, and he points out to him, he said, I don't know anything, but you should ask the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Advaita Acharya. And we know he is the combination of Sada Shiva.
Nectar of Devotion says he's 86% Krishna.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's in between, yeah. Now it's got this, so it's a little, one of those personalities that is so cult, and it will take probably more reading from the acharyas to
more bhajan too.
More bhajan, because a lot of things are realized that
he's
way.
Not a demigod. He's not a demigod, and he's not Vishnu.
But at the same time, it's like
he's his own
Lord Brahma,
category. It actually says that.
Yeah, one category.
You have Lord Brahma, you have Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva, and in charge of the 3 modes of material nature. And Lord Vishnu is referred to sometimes as a god. And then we know he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Lord Vishnu, you're saying now.
Yes, Lord Vishnu.
Mhm.
Lord Vishnu, I'm sorry.
As a god?
Yeah.
Yeah. Among gods, they know there's a superior gods. It's always that to demonstrate the superiority of Lord Vishnu. And
Plenary expansions, aren't they?
yes,
Yeah.
Like Sri
But at the same
Dhanvantari,
time-
Sri Dhanvantari is described as a partial incarnation of Lord Vishnu, right?
right. At the
Right.
same time, there are poles, those three poles. And
Mhm.
Brahma,
Raja,
Vishnu,
Tamas, Sataguna, represented by. We know that
Guna avatars. Guna avatars.
Yeah. So Sataguna, we said, okay, that's a mode of goodness, but we know that Krishna, God, is above even the
Right.
mode of goodness. Shuddha, Sattva.
You can say whatever you like, but I don't understand it at all.
Did you write
But
a song about Lord Shiva?
Oh, yes. I have the one about Daksha and Sati.
Oh, okay.
Never born. And then I have one about Mount Kailash that's not very well known.
Okay. I don't know if you'll have time to sing them tonight, or at least one tonight, but I don't know if you're tuned up or what you'll have to go through, but we can squeeze it in. It'd be fun. Sikarani, since you're coming from the holy dham of Sri Krishna, do you have something that you want to add or ask regarding this reference to Lord Shiva and Shivaratri? You guess you grew up as a little girl with Shivaratri, correct?
Yeah. Like, so I'll tell you one thing. Like, so in India, I would say that people actually consider Krishna as an avatar of Vishnu. Like 90% of people who have never interacted with ISKCON people, that's how we think. We think like all the avatars, Ram, Krishna, Vaman, Narsimha, Varaha, all these are avatars, and Vishnu is kind of, because they always consider Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, the three, like destructor and the creator and the maintainer. So that's how we always used to think. Like, so like we never gave kind of more importance to Ram or more importance to Krishna, because like there was no comparison. We always know that all these are the same people, but like we thought like, okay, these are the avatars. But in ISKCON they say that Krishna is the main. So that is really confusing, because like since birth that is something which we have followed, right? And that is how people talk, and that's how they have followed. So it has been really difficult, even like realizing that the we all know that the source is one, but then just realizing that. So also
And
we
what
never.
and what is that? And what is that one? They
Was
say
that
that one
source?
is
They
impersonal,
say it's
right?
no, they say the source is Vishnu.
No.
Do they?
it was-
do.
Is that what
yeah.
you're saying?
Yeah, they say
Sikarani?
the source is Narayan. So that's
Narayan.
Narayan.
Okay, and one of the sampradayas, which one is it? They promote that as if
Oh,
the
that one.
no
Sri Sampradaya, especially.
Sri
Sri
Sampradaya.
Sampradaya.
But in the Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma says, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord. And he says that everything comes from Krishna. So
Sarva Karana Karanam.
mhm.
Oh, Krishna
So
Soyam.
it's not
Those are statements.
ISKCON. It's not
Srimad
ISKCON
Bhagavatam
that's
has
Yeah,
saying.
I understand, but like in India, most famous books are Gita and Mahabharata and Ramayana. So only these
Yeah.
are the three books which the common man reads. So in these
Right.
books, it's not so much like discussed in detail, right? And I was also wondering, like, why and how it started that people started thinking of Krishna as a avatar of Vishnu. Like I don't want to get into the argument, but I want to know how this rumor started, like why people started thinking in that direction, because they are thinking like that for 3000 years, like until Prabhupada came and then he clarified everything. He wanted to promote the real thing. But I am always wondering, like, why the confusion started in the first place. I don't know how it started, why it started.
Lord Chaitanya started. And the six Goswamis expanded on, and then Srila Prabhupada as a consequence of that. And
I'd
many
like to
times
throw, I'd like,
Demigod
I'd like to
worship.
throw, sorry.
They wanted demigod worship,
Yes.
right? For something approaching, God, or the expansion of God, the plenary portion of God, to get something in return. Whereas Mahaprabhu came to reveal, the real source, the Govinda Adi Purush, and that we in Bhakti we serve unconditionally the Adi Purush.
I'd like to
But
throw
that-
something out. I'd like to
Okay.
just do something for a second, please. In answer to Shikarani's question, why or where did it start? I think all of your answers are of course accurate. And one thought I have is, well, isn't it that for example, in the Sri Sampradaya, which is Ramanujacharya, correct? The emphasis is on, it's on Vishnu, isn't it? It's on Venkateshwaram, it's on Balaji, and all the majesty and all the opulence. And I mean, I don't know how they think there in Tirupati, but do they actually see,
No,
they
but
don't see Krishna as
in
God, do they?
No,
Sorry.
they see him as Venkateshwar is actually Krishna from Vrindavan, who came as Venkateshwar to allow Mother Yashoda to do his marriage and to receive worship. So he's actually the same Krishna from Vrindavan.
When we
Really?
we went to,
Tirupati.
we went to
Yes.
we went to Venkat we went to Tirupati, and the Brahmins that take care of all the grihastas, they take care of the city really pretty much with a little lagoon or lake to purify yourself to then come into the temple. When you enter the temple, probably it's like huge. I mean, they're like big walls. It's a citadel, and it's all black granite. And as you enter the inner chamber, the main temple itself, after you go through several gates and like that, is in a patio with a veranda, you would say?
Yeah, veranda.
Veranda going all around. And there is a high relief of Vrindavan. Actually, his mother Jashoda marrying, she couldn't be there at the marriage of Krishna. So
So
he marries Padmavati, is the gopi. Or
in this pastime is
in this pastime.
Venkateshwar.
And so the kitchen, they invited us to stay. I mean, right there, usually, I mean, before you enter, you have to sign books. Even though I'm not a Hindu, I'll be respectful. Sorry, it's very, strict. But the inner heart of that temple is operated by Vaishnavas, and they know they knew Prabhupada, and they see the devotees that were so loving, and so they let us stay, because you had to buy a ticket to get in. I mean, sometimes there are lines that take you all day to get in, and you get a darshan real quick, and then you're out. In our case, they let us stay all day.
Wow.
We're chanting. There's inside that courtyard, outside that main center.
I'm trying to get some clarification. I'm sorry. Is Balaji the same as Venkateshwaram, or are they two different deities?
Is who the same?
Balaji the same as Venkateshwaram?
No, Balaji's different. Balaji's the deity that was found by Madhavendra Puri.
The Gopal deity?
No, the one in Tirupati.
And Tirupati. Oh, the baby in Tirupati.
Bal Krishna, you mean? Yeah.
Oh, Bal Krishna.
I thought the name of the deity in Tirupati was Balaji. No? Or is that Venkateshwar?
No. Venkateshwar.
That's Venkateshwar. He's 10 feet tall. He's at the inner chamber. As you come in, there is a column, and only Chaitanya devotees know this, but there is a place Lord Chaitanya, when he first saw him enter in ecstasy, and as he was about fainting, he touched the column. So there's the marks of his fingers on the column. Not everybody knows that.
So correct me if I'm wrong. I'm trying to get some clarification. I'm speculating to reply to Sikarani that because there's so much emphasis on Vishnu worship in South India, then the tendency, because of the Shanta Ras mood or Shanta / Dasya,
I'll tell
the
you.
emphasis is on Vishnu.
Yeah.
Vishnu's got awe and reverence, and Krishna is not
No.
given as much emphasis. Therefore, I'm guessing. Correct
So
me if I'm
what
wrong.
I was telling is like, so Mataji, Nanpatni Mataji said that okay, people are interested in doing demigod worshipping, but here the point which I was trying to say is
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not even
different. I understood.
comparing. I'm not even comparing Shiva worshippers to Vishnu worshippers. The problem, what I was trying to discuss is like why people are considering Krishna is a avatar of Vishnu and not considering Vishnu is a avatar of Krishna. What I believe is like, so basically, if you go in South India and if you want to talk to people about Krishna, they actually cannot connect with Krishna avatar because they feel so. Even in India, there is a kind of a lot of, like in India, there is.
Wait a minute. What do you mean by Krishna avatar? Because Krishna is the avatari. He's the source of all the
They
avatars.
First
say
listen
he
to
isn't.
me. You must listen to me what I am saying. So
Yeah.
first of all, there are a lot of avatars in South India. So basically, how all these things are, whichever part of India there has been one Leela. So those people, like if you go to Northeast, they will not worship Krishna. They would worship another Leela or avatar of Krishna. If you go to South, because that thing happened in Tirupati Balaji, so they would connect and they would pray Tirupati Balaji more. They would not worship Krishna. Same if you go to Vrindavan, they would worship Krishna. If you go to Orissa, they would worship Jagannath. But these
Right.
all are same God. But they try to connect more with whatever Leela has happened in their particular state, and that's why they want to worship God in that form. If you go to Orissa and if you tell people to worship Venkateshwar, even though it is same God, but they cannot connect with that more because they feel that kind of nativeness. In Mathura, they would not worship as Balaji. They would always worship as Krishna because that is their event. All the Leela happened there. So that's why South Indian people, they think Krishna is a North Indian Leela and more like a North Indian version of worshipping God. So that's why they can connect more with Balaji. And most of the people here, South Indian people, they won't go to a Krishna temple, but they would go to a Balaji temple. So that's what I'm telling. Like, because Vishnu never had kind of that Leela or avatar, so they feel Vishnu is the form, and all these things like Venkateshwar or Krishna, Vaman, Jagannath, all these have stories and Leelas, so they consider they are avatars. That's what I think. That's how
Yeah,
people
so but
misconstrue.
it's in the according to the conception of the devotee, and so there is a view of opulence, and God has no birth, no mother, no father. He's he's God. So
Yeah,
that conception is conception of opulence and Ashwarya.
yeah,
And so we refer to, for Praman, for evidence, Srimad Bhagavatam is quoted by the six Goswami, Jiva Goswami, all of them, they base their literature on the evidence given by Srimad Bhagavatam, where it says Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam. He is the supreme, the original form of God. And so yes, according, and some people, most people, they can't understand very much the Leela of Lord Krishna. They get confused. And so it's much easier to have a god like Lord Ramachandra. One wife is Maryada. His speciality is Maryada, or the rules and regulations. And that, is very much awe and reverence, and that worship is not done with a lot of intimacy. There is a little bit of it that Lord Ramachandra would embrace Hanuman, but in other of the Narayan incarnations, they won't embrace, they won't hug. But it's according to the conception of the state of the person. And a lot of the philosophy also has been tainted with impersonalism. So Prabhupada, and we're reading the chapter of Rasa Dance, Prabhupada's warning us not to read the impersonalist interpretations.
Even I heard that's why we don't read the Tulsidas's version of Ramayana, because there's some impersonal conception compared to Valmiki. Even though all the followers of Krishna Das, the Kirtan leader, they're all chanting the, what is it, Mana Charis, Rama Charata,
Ramcharit Manas.
Ram Charit Manas. But our Prabhupada, and I don't think anybody in our line chants that, because I heard there is some of that impersonal conception there. It's not as accurate as Valmiki.
Could be. I haven't read anything from Prabhupada about it.
Yeah, I did.
But you did. You did. Oh, so I'll take your word.
I don't know if this answers your question or not, Sikarani. Are you set?
Yeah,
Go
we have someone that would know the answer historically, how it became like that, because the Srimad Bhagavatam is accepted by all four sampradayas as the authoritative book. And the first verse explains that Krishna, the son of, that he's the supreme person. Okay, so there's some historical thing that happened, and we know someone that can tell us what it was.
Can you
we'll
look into it? Yeah. Get back to us.
So, and now in questions of Tattva, Vishnu, Narayan, Krishna, they're all the same. We cannot make a difference or be offensive to. They're all the same personality.
Yeah.
Except Rupa Goswami says there's 4% difference, right? That Krishna.
Oh, Krishna, no, that's a question.
You never see Vishnu playing a flute, for example.
That's in the question. Those other four qualities, like
that's not in Tattva, right? I'm just repeating what you said.
Also, I feel because Vishnu never came on the earth, like Vishnu never got birth on the earth, right? That's why they think like that. So whoever took the human body and took a birth on the earth, they usually consider those as avatar or Leela. And whoever is always in the celestial planet, they consider them as superior. So I also feel that's how also it started, because Vishnu has no Leela on the earth, if you see, but all others have.
But according to the conception, Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, and in order to perform Leelas in the material world, it's his Vishnu incarnation as Krishna that descends here.
Yeah, that's right. Correct? So Dwarkadish and Mathuradish, or Mathuranath and Dwarkanath, they are Vasudev expansion. That's the same. Balaram will be is an expansion of Sankarshan, Mula Sankarshan.
But you were explaining to him that in Tattva there's no difference.
In Tattva there is no difference. It would be an offense to think Narayan is different than Krishna. In questions of Ras, then there's like Rupa Goswami, there's another four qualities: playing the flute, Rupa Madhuri, Venu Madhuri, Prem Madhuri. Prem is not something
surrounded by loving devotees.
Always surrounded by unlimited amount of loving devotees and unlimited pastimes.
And what are the other two? Flute, intimate devotees.
His form, Rup.
And
let me see.
Pastimes.
The peacock feather is one of the four.
There's Leela Madhuri, Venu Madhuri, Rupa Madhuri. Starting with Rupa Madhuri.
So pastimes, flute.
So no, this Maharaj says that we will. Mahaprabhu gave, which no other incarnation could. We don't find any philosophy or Siddhanta between Mahaprabhu and Krishna and his incarnations. But in Rupa form, Krishna is superior. In Rasa, he is superior. First aspect of that superior Rasa is the sweetness of Krishna's form. So that's called Rupa Madhuri. The next one is Venu Madhuri. Venu meaning the sweetness of his flute playing. No incarnation can play the flute. Then you have Leela Madhuri. The third special feature is Lila Madhuri. All incarnations have some particular pastimes. If Krishna is not there and you do not have an opportunity to see Krishna pastimes, then you may be attracted to other pastimes. But when Krishna is present and starts his pastimes, other pastimes will not attract you. How sweetly Krishna performed his pastimes, other incarnations cannot do like that. So in the consideration of sweetness of pastimes, Lila Madhuri, Krishna is superior. And then you have the fourth special feature is Prem or Prema Madhuri, the sweetness of his love. If you have Prem with Krishna, that is topmost. If it does not mean that there is no Prem in other incarnations. They have Prem, but in their Prem, you will find a maximum of 2.5 rasas, no more than that. Shanta, Dasya, and half of Sakya. Even in Lord Ramachandra's pastimes, the Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya are all mixed with the Ashwarya mood, so it is only half. But in Krishna, you can relish all 5 rasas, not only 5, but 12 rasas, including 5 primary and 7 secondary rasas.
Wow, a lot of detail. Which book is that coming from?
This is from a lecture, can you see?
Yeah.
From a lecture by Bhakti Sarup Sridhar.
4 special gifts of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yeah, and it's compiled by Krishna Radhakanta Prabhu as by Sripad Bhakti Sarup Sridhar Maharaj when he came here to Hawaii. And he's a disciple and temple president of Puri, Jagannath Puri temple of Bhaktivedanta Puri Goswami Maharaj. It's right next door to, so it's a fantastic lecture. I would recommend it because he speaks that up until then.
He's a disciple of Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Maharaj?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
When did they make that book? Yes,
What year?
my very senior godbrother.
He's asking when was that book created?
It was, let me see, it was 2015 when he came here to Hawaii, and it's based on the lecture that he gave, and it's called 4 Special Gifts of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's progressive. How more and more is that's why this Danya, this amazing age of Kali Yuga when everything is revealed, not before. So before all the other incarnations, people had the Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, and all the Nyayis, even Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, all the great scholars of India up until 500 years ago. All the stress was, even in scriptures, you can see the stress was on Dharta, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Prem is then revealed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
So what's the difference? The Rupa Madhuri, the Rupa means form.
Yeah,
so
the sweet form.
So I'm just trying to, sorry, the sweet form. Okay, because Lord Vishnu's got 4 arms, Krishna's got the 2.
Yeah, so if I bring Nrsinga, let's say we have Vamana, Nrsinga, Parashuram, and all the other incarnations, you bring Krishna. As soon as you bring Krishna, everybody, especially all the ladies, everybody's attracted to that form. It's so beautiful. The 3-bending form is the most beautiful form of Godhead. There's no question about it. So that's called Rupa Madhuri. That sweet form of Krishna that's unique.
So form, flute, pastimes, and prema,
Prem Madhuri,
which is that
prem that he came to give, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Is that this?
I'm just wondering how does Rupa Goswami describe it? Krishna Chandra, I don't know if you can look it up. This is in the Nectar of Devotion, the 4 qualities that Krishna has that Lord Vishnu does not have.
Oh, yes.
Qualities of Sri Krishna.
This sannyasi is very scholarly. Actually, he was 16 years old going to college, and he saw a book table by.
Hey, Ganeshwar Prabhu finally arrived.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Prabhu.
Oh,
sorry I'm late. I just saw your invitation.
Can please disclose your darshan, Prabhu, Daneshwar Prabhu? We just see you as a black box right now.
Oh, that probably looks better than me right now.
Gaura Prabhu, when you're ready, I have the 4 qualities whenever you want.
Yeah, please. But welcome, Dineshwar. Our obeisances too.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Dandavat pranams,
Srila
Prabhu. Good to meet
Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
So happy you could come. Yeah, actually, we were just discussing the 4 qualities that Krishna has that Lord Vishnu does not have. So,
Yes.
yes, Krishna Chandra Prabhu, could you please mention them, what they are?
Yes. Number 1, his wonderful pastimes, which are compared to an ocean. 2, his association in the circle of the supreme devotees in conjugal love, the gopis. 3, his playing on the flute, whose vibration attracts the 3 worlds. 4, his extraordinary beauty, which surpasses the beauty of the 3 worlds. Lord Krishna's beauty is unequaled and unsurpassed.
Read them again, please, one more time.
Okay. Number 1, his wonderful pastimes, which are compared to an ocean. 2, his association in the circle of the supreme devotees in conjugal love, the gopis. 3, his playing on the flute, whose vibration attracts the 3 worlds. And 4, his extraordinary beauty, which surpasses the beauty of the 3 worlds. Lord Krishna's beauty is unequaled and unsurpassed.
Okay.
So Maharaj here explains it, is that if you consider Rupa of Krishna, no other incarnation's Rupa will attract you like Krishna. If you keep all incarnations together, one after another, Nrsimha, Varaha, Matsya, Kurma, even Lord Ramachandra, and put Krishna there, you will be attracted only toward Krishna. By the beauty of his Rupa form, no one else can compare or attract in the same way. If you see Nrsimha Dev, you will become fearful. If you see Matsya, the fish incarnation, he will not attract you at all. If Krishna is present, then he will attract the minds of all. If Krishna is not present, then that will be different. In consideration of Rupa form, Krishna is supreme and most attractive. To relish the sweetness of the form of God, Krishna's presence is compulsory. Without Krishna's form, to relish any other form cannot be complete or to the extreme extent.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Krishna Chandra, if you ever order that book, please order a copy for me.
Oh, of course, Prabhu, no problem.
I'd like to honor Daneshwar Prabhu. What we do, Prabhuji, is we each read 2 paragraphs, and then if anyone has a comment or a question, they can just jump in. So where we're reading right now, I just started this chapter. It's chapter 33, Vidyadhara liberated and the demon Sankhasura killed. So we just
wait, chapter 33?
reading 33, yeah, in the Krishna book. That's right.
Chapter 33.
So if you'd like to read,
says description of the rasa dance.
Well, this is the original Krishna book. The original.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the old school. Old school.
All right. So Vidyadhara liberated and Sankhasura killed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You have it handy?
Yeah. Well, in the database, what paragraph are you
in? Second paragraph, please. If you'd like to read 2 paragraphs. They very devotedly began.
So starting with according?
No, they very devotedly began to worship. Second paragraph.
Okay. I better get to the original book. That's different.
Well,
one second.
Someone was up to.
Somebody else can read. Let me get on the same page.
Okay, I'll read my second paragraph. They very devotedly began to worship the deity of Lord Shiva and Ambika. It is the general practice that wherever there is a temple of Lord Shiva, there must be another temple of Ambika or Durga, because Ambika is the wife of Lord Shiva and is the most exalted of chaste women. She doesn't live outside the association of her husband. After reaching Ambikavana, the cowherd men of Vrindavan first bathe themselves in the river Saraswati. If one goes to any place of pilgrimage, his first duty is to take a bath and sometimes to shave his head. That is the first business. After taking bath, they worshiped the deities and then distributed charity in the holy places. Are you not able to see the screen, Daneshwar Prabhu?
Oh, you're reading on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I was trying to find it in my own database.
Oh, no, you got it right there, according to the Vedic system. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you
All right.
see?
Yeah, I can see.
Please read.
Okay, where did you leave off?
According to the Vedic system, it's on the
Oh,
screen.
okay, start the whole thing again. Okay.
Yeah.
According to the Vedic system, charity is given to the Brahmanas. It is stated in the Vedic Shastras that only the Brahmanas and sannyasis can accept charity. The cowherd men from Vrindavan gave cows decorated with golden ornaments and beautiful garlands. The Brahmanas are given charity because they are not engaged in any business profession. They are supposed to be engaged in Brahminical occupations as described in Bhagavad Gita, namely, they must be very learned and able to perform austerity and penances. They must not only themselves be learned, but they must also teach others. Brahmanas are not meant to be Brahmanas alone. They should create other Brahmanas also. If a man is found who agrees to become a Brahmana's disciple, he is also given the chance to become a Brahmana. The Brahmana is always engaged in the worship of Lord Vishnu. Therefore, the Brahmanas are eligible to accept all kinds of charity. But if the Brahmanas receive excess charity, they are to distribute it for the service of Vishnu. In the Vedic scripture, therefore, one is recommended to give in charity to the Brahmanas, and by doing so, one pleases Lord Vishnu and all of the demigods.
Please stop for a moment.
Yeah.
So, purport by His Grace Tanishwar Prabhu, would you like to say something about this paragraph, please?
Yes, I would.
Oh, good, good. Do you
yeah,
need me to keep, do you need me to keep this on the screen, or can we look
No.
at you? Okay,
No.
good.
Okay. You know, recently I've been thinking about we have to, we means all of us, the followers of Prabhupada, disciples of Prabhupada, we must take it upon ourselves to establish a spiritual culture, because this present demonic civilization is going to go down. So say the astrologers, okay? Based on that, I'm thinking about, for months now, okay, what is the spiritual culture? How do we establish it? And in that process, I'm also thinking how Prabhupada wanted to establish the Brahminical class of men. And he also said both Brahmanas and Kshatriyas are required. And he said, he wanted rather that we had Varnashram college everywhere that we have a center,
Right.
which has not been done. So I've been thinking recently about establishing a course to train Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, and specifically, not just Brahmana that can, you know a lot of shlokas and give a nice class, but a person who understands how to guide society in vis-a-vis Varna and Ashram. This is a great need, and maybe ISKCON's a big society. Maybe somebody's doing that, but I feel a great need to start this up.
What's the expression? Need of the hour, or need of the day, or something like that?
Yeah.
You're reminding me of Srila Prabhupada's instruction that I heard from Rameshwar Prabhu in 1977. Prabhupada was in Bhubaneswar. I don't know if he was actually there at the time or on a train or both, but he said, these cities will not last much longer because their economy is not based on the local production of food. As unemployment continues to increase, 58 million in America right now, since this whole COVID scam, he said, people will be coming by the millions to our farms. And then I thought to myself, oh, well, where are these farms? I guess I'm supposed to start one. I recently met someone that's got 47 acres out here where I am, north of Toronto. So I thought, well, I guess maybe that's what Prabhupada was talking about.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I've been thinking about the exact same thing. And I'm thinking, well, that's not going to happen by chance. Somebody has to organize for that. And I'm put together a concept paper for that specific purpose. And I'm looking for help. So if anybody's interested, put your email in the chat box.
Jai.
I'll send you a copy. it's again, it's a concept paper. It's not, exact, exact. This is how it should be done or must be done. It's a starting place for further discussion.
Sure.
But the basic idea is, let me just interject. Interestingly, I came across a fellow in Texas who's doing almost exactly the same concept, which is to recruit people on the basis that come here, we'll train you how to live simply. The sky is falling. We don't have much time. And we'll train you up and we'll help you get situated on the land and give you support.
And this isn't even a Vaishnava. It's not even a devotee.
No, right.
Wow. He's already thinking the way Prabhupada was.
Krishna's not depending on us.
Right.
So he's giving both proof of concept, right? And he's demonstrating how the market for this, there was several thousand people at his seminar looking to find out information, several thousand.
Wow.
So people can see we're going over a cliff and they're trying to figure out, what are we going to do? So, right, you're surfing, you got to paddle and catch the wave, but we better start paddling because if we miss this wave, it's going to be the greatest lost opportunity of all time.
I get it. The writing's been on the wall since Prabhupada departed and before. Yeah. Listen, could you just introduce a little bit about yourself, Prabhu? Where did you first meet the devotees? Who was the first devotee you met and where did you meet them and what year was that?
The first devotee I met was Dr. George Harrison.
Really?
In the introduction of Krishna book.
Right.
That's
all you need. All you need is love, Krishna.
Yeah, and I got the book through a friend who knew that I was interested in Eastern spirituality. She's book distributor forced her to take the book. She didn't want it, so she gave it to me, and so I read that.
What year was this? What year was this?
That was 72 or 71. And then after reading that, I was very much taken by Prabhupada's writing, and I found his Bhagavad Gita in the health food store, read that, and I had read Krishna book, Bhagavad Gita, and half the teachings of Lord Chaitanya before I ever saw a devotee.
Where was this? Where? Gainesville.
Gainesville. As I was going to graduate school in 1972, 73.
In economics, right?
No, engineering.
Engineering, okay.
If I would have got a degree in economics, I wouldn't have been able to write my spiritual economics book.
You'd be all twisted.
That's right. Anyway, so that was, way back then, 73. I met the devotees, got initiated in 74 and 75, Prabhupada in Atlanta.
Nice.
And let's see, from 2005 to 2015, I was traveling all around the world preaching, focusing mainly on Varnashram Dharma. I had a number of little village attempts in Ukraine, Russia, and Lithuania.
You established
Spain.
some farming there, didn't you?
Well, let's say we made an effort to get something going.
What were the obstacles you were faced with? Main ones.
Lack of interest by the devotees.
In other words, not enough preaching coming from the top to influence the devotees, maybe.
Well, yeah. I mean, not preaching, but resistance. And also I was in foreign countries and the language barrier was it was too much. And, I realized I wasn't going to be able to learn language. So I came back to the States. So right now I'm in Prabhupada Village, trying to inspire something here. And if not here, well, I'm in contact with devotees in several parts of the world with this concept paper that I've written and trying to push this idea that people, look, 28,000 nurses left their jobs from Kaiser Permanente Healthcare Center in San Francisco rather than take the jab. Wow. These people, they're not going to take the jab. What are they going to do? Pretty soon they're not going to be able to have a job. Okay? Those are the people that we want to prepare for. Come here, we'll help you get shelter. Okay, I don't want to take up all the time. There's very little time left.
Baba Tarini and Rahari are asking, where is Prabhupada village? That's North Carolina with Madua Prabhu. It's his community.
That's correct. Yeah, North Carolina in.
That's
little-
Sandy Ridge, right? That's with where the Bhaktivedanta archives with Ekanath and Nityatripta are.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
And Madan Mohan Mohini is
Madan.
there. Madan Mohan Mohini is there.
Shauri Prabhu.
Shauri is there. Shivananda Prabhu is there.
Yeah.
We have a Nitya, we have Jivan Mukta Prabhu here with us. Jivan Mukta he's another visionary. And we have Nitya Leela here all the way from Pakistan, and her two brothers, they got what is it? 10 million rupee, Pakistani rupee donation to print Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita in Sindh and Urdu language. I mean, yeah, amazing. And speaking of George Harrison, we have with us here Nanda Patni, who as a young girl at 16 years of age was brought by her friends to go to a hall in England where George Harrison was presenting Srila Prabhupada with the new Krishna book. She was there for that. I don't know if anybody recorded that. I've never heard of that recording before. But yeah, and me too. George Harrison, John Lennon, of course.
It's so nice. You're always chanting the glories of all the devotees. You know everybody and all their histories. It's really nice to associate with you.
Nitya Leela, do you have a question for Dineshwar Prabhu regarding the establishment of Varnashram communities for Pakistan?
Yeah, exactly. This is a thing which we are in process to implement here. And so must be looking forward to some documented best practices from his side if possible.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get that.
She's asking for a prospectus because she sees the necessity for developing self-sufficient communities in Pakistan. So she wants your paper, whatever it is that you've written.
Well, okay, yeah. Put your email in the chat box. Whoever puts their email there, I'll send it. Again, it's not a prospectus, it's a concept. And
what's the difference? What's the difference between a concept and a prospectus?
The concept is just to give the idea.
Okay.
A prospectus is more like a proposal.
Okay.
This is not a proposal. It's a concept. It can be adapted anywhere, but depending on how you do it, it requires some capable people. You know, Prabhupada said, to establish Varnashram, Brahmana and Kshatriya are both required. You've got to have capable people to get this up and going, or a team. Now, I want to establish a team for promotion, for websites, for different things like that, that can serve. If I'm talking with a devotee, for example, New Zealand, okay. Devotees here, devotees at New Vrindavan. So this, let's say you could call it media team, could serve all of these different efforts if we can get something together. But
a media team.
Yeah.
So Nitya Leela, she was running the media for 10 temples in Pakistan. She's a media expert.
Okay, you're hired.
But she's also a doctor, a full-fledged MD, who's managed to avoid the jab. And she's got, I don't know, before she had 250 doctors under her care. She's changed jobs. To dodge the jab, she changed jobs. So I don't think she has 250 doctors under her care, but she has other responsibilities. We have Jivan Mukta Prabhu here with us. Jivan Mukta, do you have any comments or questions for Dineshwar Prabhu? Jivan Mukta, are you available? Or are you busy? Jivan Mukta is a shaker and a mover. Go for it.
Where are you? Jivan Mukta, where are you?
I'm in Maya.
What an answer.
Maya.
Great.
We all are.
That's why I'm just drag out. Please.
Let him speak.
Yeah, I think we're neighbors, Jiva Mukta.
Jivan Mukta is a little over an hour north of me. He actually has a home in the Toronto area, but he's also an hour north of me on Lake Huron.
I've got
Okay.
I last year I purchased 200 acres just north of Toronto, and with the idea of doing something. And my experience is that, and it all has to do with, my nature, I guess. But, I just find it very difficult to see groups of devotees working together. So what I did is understand, like at one point I tried to bring a group of devotees together way back in 1990. And it was a great, I thought it was a really good proposal, but not one person went for it. So it was also another property I had, 120 acres right on, like waterfront property and everything.
Wow.
And I just couldn't get devotees to cough up $20,000 each, to pay for this property that would have, like right now, that property, I sold it in 2000, year 2000. And yeah, I made some money on it, but right now,
Probably worth $1 million.
That property's worth like $10 million now.
Wow.
And but I couldn't get anyone to bite. And I remember, putting the effort in to make the presentation, and it was very discouraging. And I know we're not supposed to give up, but I had a family to raise, and I just couldn't put any more effort into something like that.
That was my experience also, Prabhu.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No,
my experience. So in 2010, I wrote a paper, Why Varnashram Dharma Cannot Be Established in ISKCON.
Wow.
And I've abandoned my effort.
What's the main point of that, please? The gist.
The culture of ISKCON.
It's ultimately, and what you mean by that is Western culture.
No, I mean the culture, the present disciples of our God brothers, they do what their guru says. If their guru doesn't say do it, they don't do it.
No, you're
Bhakti
right.
Raghava Swami, Bhakti Vikas Swami, there are two who are instructing their disciples, so they have some disciples doing it. But anyway, the point is, I'm in my focus, I've got not yet devotees, just now coming devotees. People who will come and be trained by us, both not only in farming, but in culture, and how the culture is essential for the success of this village effort. Okay.
Yeah. My approach at this point, Prabhu, I totally agree with you. This whole guru culture totally disarms and debilitates anyone who isn't like really closely sold out to one of these, gurus. And so what my approach now is, I've got a daughter who's very, very, I've got 7 kids, but I've got 2 of them. One that's becoming very expert in real estate. And the other is a yogini and becoming very devotional, which I'm very, very, infinitely delighted about. And so my approach now is, you know what? We've got a small group. Let's like brainstorm and figure out, how to utilize this 200 acres. Now, the beautiful thing about this 200 acres is in Ontario, there's something called unincorporated townships. And in these unincorporated townships, you could build anything you want, which in most cases, you are restricted by zoning. You can't just go onto a farm and build a temple. Like, it's agricultural land. So the reason I jumped onto, the reason I purchased this property was because of that zoning. And it's got incredible, breathtaking waterfront. And so I am unless Krishna, every day that I chant my rounds, I pray to Krishna to just send, give me, a sign, or send someone if anyone wants to participate.
That's me.
Yeah. and so we should definitely communicate some, further on this. But it's a tremendous property. It's just got everything that we need. And my idea is to start by building a really beautiful building that will act as our core, our center. Like, so the temple, it'll act as the place that we can have, conferences and yoga retreats. That'll be the main thing. And then from there, because it has to generate money, like, it's not like where Prabhupada was here, where devotees were going out and selling, lollipops and this and that, and making, millions of dollars selling whatever, books. This is just me. Like, my resources have to be utilized. We have to somehow generate revenue.
I want to suggest you expand your thinking, because there's unlimited money in this world, and Krishna is the owner of everything. And if we're serving him, I have absolute faith that he'll provide what is needed. And that's what Prabhupada told us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and a practical thing, Hare Krishna, I'm Hari Das. We ever met Haribol Prabhu, disciple of Srila Prabhupada. And with my wife, we have 108 acres. We have 7 children too, and now we have many grandchildren like that. But the urgency, that vision is very difficult to convey in a society where, like, Jiva Mukta was saying, well, we need to generate money. And so when you have and most of the people to form a society, you need not just monks. There's a place for everyone, but it's pretty much grihastas that will run all the things. So we saw a great opportunity here in the state of Hawaii because all the dairies are closed. So we approached everyone, including Ambarish, and who was very busy at the times. Of the next 2 years, I'm doing Mayapur, and all the other devotees to buy. There is 2,300 acres of land leased by the state as a dairy. And this company, dairy, the bad dairy industry, the one that made everybody a vegan because of their practices, they were leaving a bunch of their equipment. It was a great opportunity to take it over. So I got great response from Senator McGovern, who was in agriculture, and from people in power that would facilitate permits and like that. It's very difficult here on taxation and permits and like that. But we had that, but it will always come down to finances. But I think basically, Prabhupada said to GBC, you want to make money, sell ghee. The idea was to have most of the devotees in the country. By now we would have like herds and herds of cows, which create real wealth. Production of food, which is essential. If you're going to have a community, you had to have the cows. We had to have, producing. And so we're a little stuck. I mean, I totally 100% I agree with you, Prabhu, that if we have Krishna, everything is, is unlimited. The resources, but in a practical way, we granted all the expenses. The land we have is 100 acres with streams, water, not too far away from the original temple in Ocala where Prabhupada came to, and he said, "Where's the water?" Gaura Prabhu had acquired that property, and so then they sold it. Prabhupada said, without water, how are you going to take care of the cows and your animals? So that's like number one. So we ended up rescuing a bunch of those cows from this dairy that was closing. But our land, the infrastructure is needed. So, and it's very expensive. Hawaii is very, very expensive to create shelters for the cows and having them. I mean, we have two in our backyard. We are in a subdivision that's very sparsely populated. It's way far. We're the ocean, very close, 2 blocks away. And Jamuna and Bahula, our cows are in back. We have 4 lots we put together, about 2 acres of land. And so now Jamuna is giving us milk without even a calf. And so I can see, I mean, if you relate to them intimately and all that, but the culture is still, I mean, we're so many things we need to know in detail. People want to take care of cows. We say, well, what do we do with the bulls? Forever we were looking for great milk products that were organic and offerable to take care of our children too. But all these companies that we talked to, they were not, the concept of ahimsa didn't come in because practically if they had a bull, they don't have land. And for example, many of those companies, organic grass-fed or organic animals, they have problems of space. And so the need of a culture that knows how to turn those bulls to oxen and how to train them to starting to replace a lot of the machinery and stuff. There's a lot of things, a lot of details that will go that have to be taken into account. And I know, I mean, COVID really dampened the whole thing because I did have, we did a program, it's called WOOFER, which is the organic workers on organic farms. And it's an international thing up until recently. And they were all interested in our methods and Krishna culture. But then the traveling stopped. So we lost the base of workers. And locally, all devotees are doing, it's like you said, I mean, there's, if the guru says not, or if Vishnu says not. So there's so many groups of devotees with different gurus here. And Big Island, we all get together, but, there's still a little suspicion. And at the same time, devotees are like individually trying to take care of their families, take care of themselves. Most of the devotees are, financially speaking, very stressed. And so
I'd like to jump in for a second, if I may.
Yeah, I was just asking in a way for help, like advice. What would how would
Glad we were it's, we're so spread away, we're not close. This is the other problem, is that you have these devotees that are making efforts, but then we're separated, by geography and in such extents that we, why Lord Chaitanya is doing this and making it, such a challenge for us. There's certainly a reason, but maybe we should, as you were speaking, Prabhu, I was thinking that it might be a good idea for us to kind of organize like weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, like get-togethers on Zoom for those who are looking to, that need encouragement, that are looking maybe to start some type of a project, whether it's an individual farm or whether it's a vision of a larger community.
I was thinking exactly the same thing. Why don't we do it Tuesday?
Yeah,
Laura's got Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We can do Tuesday and Saturday.
yeah. Something.
Because there's two different things here. There's like, for example, you can have a family that buys some acreage and just, wants to have some cows and wants to become like self-sufficient, which is a wonderful thing. That's should be encouraged. But then there's something larger. There's something that, like what I'm looking at on my acreage is I'm looking, because of the the facility it provides, the zoning it provides. Like on 200 acres, I could have
You could have an eco village.
I could have 500 tiny homes in there.
Mhm.
You know, I can have a small town.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, you know, that's really what I want to do, because I could create a wonderful private retreat for myself. That's goes without saying. I can do that tomorrow. Like I could get some beautiful plans, nice big, you know, mansion, and I can build myself a beautiful place there. But I mean, that's not something that would be pleasing to Srila Prabhupada and Krishna when we have this type of an opportunity. And when we have, like you said, Prabhu, such a need. It's such a need because, you know, most devotees, like most people in this world, struggle, like foaming at the mouth, you know, to make a living. And it's tragic that they work so hard, that they have to work so hard, because that's not what we're, you know, here for, but that's the nature of this economy. So if we have an opportunity to create, or at least to provide a backup plan where, you know, if when the economy goes to hell, that there's a place where they can go and take shelter amongst other devotees, right?
That was our idea. But we ended up on the sandwich between bankers and who were more of liquidators than anybody. And at that time when COVID hit, all the agricultural banks, nobody was lending any money. So we were left with a need of infrastructure to receive all these people, to shelter the cows and like that.
Yeah.
You have to have your basic thing, which is food production. And then the rest, of course, we want to, like you said, the project will be a lot bigger, to have temple and then also train people and give facilities to Brahmins. You know, not everybody's, you know, a kshatriya or administrator or a merchant that would have to produce the food. Without merchants, I mean, society will really collapse.
Right.
I mean, no food production, no cow production. We can call ourselves civilized.
Can I make a comment here?
Please.
A few years back, I was looking at some very interesting lectures and presentations on Varnashram by Ramapad Prabhu. Did you ever connect with him, Dineshwar Prabhu?
No, not really, because most of the time I was in Europe or Russia or somewhere else. I've only been back in the States for a short time.
Oh, okay. So, and I think Dhananjaya was also involved with that. They were very good, and they were actually going and visiting the Amish people.
Yeah.
And they were very, you know, very serious about this Varnashram. That was their whole orientation. So I thought I'd just mention that. They probably just, they're probably a search on YouTube. You could get to those. And then the other thing I was thinking was that the Shiva Rams program in Hungary seems to be such a nice expression of their self-sufficiency. And I think they're off the grid, aren't they?
No, they only have electricity in 2 buildings, one for the restaurant so that they can serve food to people. They have to have refrigerators and so on. So yeah, they're off grid, and that's the best model that we have. It's very well developed because they've gotten a lot of money from the government. And because Shivaram Swami is an exceptionally good leader.
And he also has that persona of the guru. So he's got disciples who've surrendered their lives to him.
Well, it's not quite like that. I asked him one time, I said, you're the guru here, you're the GBC, you're the only sannyasi in the whole country, so everybody just must do whatever you say, right? He said, no, those days are over. He said, you know, how we surrendered to Prabhupada, they don't do it like that anymore.
But nonetheless, it's a very good expression. Isn't Radhanath's program in India somewhat along this line?
I visited there also. That's a different purpose. that project, as far as, let's say, my estimation, was that they were creating a place to showcase how simple living doesn't have to be what the people of Mumbai think that they escape from. That simple living can be something very different and even attractive if it's done properly. And so I think, for their purposes, it's an excellent project.
Mhm.
Is that New Govardhan, or is that a separate project? Different.
I'm not sure what they call it. They also had an outreach program where some of their men would go out and they'd go to neighboring villages and they'd teach the local farmers different kinds of things, permaculture and whatever, different kinds of soil building techniques and so on. So it was a very good project.
I'm looking at a completely different model. The way I'm discussing this situation with my daughters is that that it will certainly be grounded in Prabhupada's teachings, and it would be led by a Brahminical perspective on the society. But as much as we're saying that there's an incredible demand for something like this among devotees, when we open it up to the greater society, there is a flood. There is like just tens of thousands of people looking for something like this.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier.
And my feeling is that Prabhupada has trained us as leaders. As leaders, we don't have to wait for this dasi or this das or this das to participate. No.
Right, exactly.
No, we have to establish this is the community. These are the principles of this community. These are the spiritual leaders of the community. Everyone is welcome, provided we follow these certain basic principles and open it up to everybody. And then the market then is like all of society is the market.
Well, it's like I was saying, this is the time because people, they can see this civilization's going over a cliff.
Yeah,
a lot of them, and they're looking for some way out.
Well, Prabhu, what my daughter sent me a Facebook page where there's these people in Ontario. And what they do is, because most people can't afford to go out and buy land, it's difficult for them. They're just living week by week, week to week.
Right.
And so what they've done is there's a few people that have organized where, a piece of property is found, and then they put it out on the, on Facebook or whatever, and find people, like basically what I was doing like 30 years ago. I went to the devotees and says, okay, here's this land. It's 1.2 million. We only need 60 devotees, just 60, to put in $20,000 each. And at that point I said, I will even finance you. All you have to do, if you want the loan, is just make your payment. I will finance you, and we will buy this property together. It'll be owned. Everyone gets a share. We own it together.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so that's what people are doing right now. Like as we speak, people are looking out for properties. They're putting it out, and they're finding investors, and they're buying these properties together, and they're all with each share. They get to build their own little home. They get a little piece of land and they build their home, and they have a community. So there's people doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not rocket science, and there certainly is a need, and people they're doing it.
Now,
so
it's not yoga. It's not like founded on yogic principles, and that's where we come in, where we do the same thing and maybe kind of modify it once we determine what all the details are. But ours would be founded and grounded on the principles of Bhagavad Gita.
That was the purpose of establishing Gita Nagari. Exactly
And
that.
then, yeah, and then, for example, if we have single brahmachari, single vanaprastha type devotees who maybe for whatever reason don't have that much money, so you could build like a communal place where they could live a very simple, austere life and practice Krishna consciousness. Like, it's going to be different for everyone. There's going to be those who have children. There's going to be those who are retired. There's going to be single young men. There's going to be people waiting to die, just, at the last stage of their lives. So we have to consider all of these situations. But it's possible. And the only, the frustrating thing for me is that, for the longest time, I've been thinking, I've got to do it with devotees, but I'm realizing, no, if we're going to do something like this, yeah, maybe devotees will get involved. We're going to need some Brahmin. We need some Brahminical, guidance for sure. But
isn't that you?
Well, I would not, I would want others there.
Well, others can participate too, but
I would want a council of really, sober, Brahminical devotees that have proven themselves over the years, to be pretty level-headed.
Do you have any candidates for that?
I was going to put an ad out. No, no. All of you would be candidates. All of you could be on the. But Prabhu, I've Krishna has provided me some, he's been kind as far as giving me success financially. So I'm prepared to sink, some of the resources into this. But it's got to be planned right. You know what I mean? My mom used to tell me, that her mother, my grandmother, used to teach her children that before you cut the cloth, you measure once, twice, three times. You make sure you measure, and make sure you got the measurement right, and then you cut it. And so I don't want to make any big mistakes with this. So, I really have to kind of think it through. And so if we could have these meetings with devotees who are kind of interested or doing this and kind of, share ideas, and it would be wonderful.
Think tank.
Do you know the project, a famous eco-village project in Scotland, which is called Findhorn? Does anyone know Findhorn?
No, of it. I haven't been there.
So Findhorn is at least 50 years old, 50, 60 years old. It was one of the first eco-villages, and it was, community-based and what's the word I'm looking for? Where everybody pitched in and shared ownership, etc., etc. And they were very, very successful in this. You might want to look at their project, because they actually became the consultants for eco-villages to the UN. Wow. And at first, when they first started, everyone was like, oh God, just kind of hippy dippy, this and that. But actually they were really serious, and they've really made it work ongoingly.
Mataji, how do you spell that?
It's just as it sounds. It's Findhorn.
I see it here.
And it's at least 50 years old. Yeah.
I'm so happy that they're still going strong, huh?
Well, yes. I mean, they became the model for eco-villages. There are lots of eco-villages sprung up, actually, in the British Isles and different places in Europe. So there are these different economies where they've made these communities work, and they're off the grid or partially off the grid for a lot of the younger generations. They want to go that way. They're interested in permaculture. and sustainable living, you know, ticking all those boxes. And then, of course, as Jivan Mukta is saying, you know, as devotees, we would add the Brahminical elements.
I would love to mention something. May I speak for a minute?
Sure.
So I'm a part of the Veda Care Trust with Guru Das.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And it's very exciting. We have been given a 24-room clinic in Vrindavan by a trust, and it's being turned into a care facility for devotees.
Nice.
And this is for devotees who are leaving their bodies, but not only, it's also to care for them through illness. And he's been involved in this for several years, maybe 2015.
Yes, you can.
And that project is going well. We have doctors. There's a lot of energy there. We're painting and doing a lot of facility. And Radhanath Swami has recently got involved, and he wants to work with Guru Das because Guru Das is the one who pulled him out of the crowd in the early 70s when he had dreadlocks, and he had come from meditation in the caves of all over India and brought him up to the stage to Prabhupada. So it's a beautiful union. Now, Guru Das, he has this is his brainchild, his Seva project, to care for devotees who've given their lives, who may not have the resources to take care of themselves, and who need devotee association as well at the end of life. Not that they should be alone, right? Yeah. And he would like to do this everywhere, all over the world. That's his goal. It's not just Vrindavan, that's a prototype. And once that's up and running and beautifully, smoothly going, he would like to do it everywhere. It's like a wonderful, can you imagine that Srila Prabhupada would be so pleased to see that the devotees are being well cared for up to the end of their lives. I'm just saying this because he's who he is. He's a powerful Vaishnava. He's also got a new book that he's putting out of thousands of photos that he took personally that have never been seen before. And he's going to release that sometime in December. But I thought maybe some of you would be interested. I'm a part of it. And we have some donors. There's wonderful things happening there, and it feels really exciting. I don't know if anybody's interested in talking with him. He's open, available, and has unlimited Prabhupada stories to tell.
Yeah, we had him here in when he actually did a book signing at our store. And we know Guru Das well, and he was just starting with that project. God donated about an acre or two at the south point of Big Island and like that. But it needs more people to get involved.
Lots and lots of people. But yeah. people are coming. He's a magnet. He's like the closest thing to Prabhupada I'll ever get. And also Shamarani, of course, they're such original homies or whatever you want to call them. But anyway, I'm just mentioning that to put it out there, that's he will take land and he will do things with it. Just a thought, if anybody wants to add that into their communities. It's an idea, right?
Yeah, great idea.
It's something that Prabhupada wanted, actually, in talking to the temple vice president then, it was 89. We were in Vrindavan with my sister, Bhaktadasi, my father, Giriraj Das, I just lost track. Prabhupada set aside actually $1.5 million for that purpose. Those funds were diverted somewhere else, but and it's not to blame or to name this and that, but that's pretty much Prabhupada. You said how pleased he would be. I mean, he was providing that. He knew our how we need such a place or places, especially for Vrindavan, everybody to, at the end of life to concentrate. That was what?
That was for Vrindavan.
That was for Vrindavan, the $1.5 million for, for his disciples to, at the end of life, retire and be there.
Well, apparently the hospice had been closed for some time, Radhanath Swami's hospice program in Vrindavan. It's reopening, and now he wants to work hand in hand with Guru Das.
Oh,
I mean, it's just wonderful. And you know what? The Guru Das's vision is holistic treatment, naturopathic medicine, different kinds of holistic, wonderful things to bring to the people, not just care, but support, education, relief, counseling, lots of good things. It sounds wonderful, right?
Yeah.
Sangi, I'd just like to bring it to your attention that I've spent the last 11 years looking for Srila Prabhupada's disciples, as you know, and it took me 11 years to find 900 of them. So I've been working in my own tiny, insignificant way to do this. And Rama Nrsinga, who's on that program with you now, I guess, he's asked me several times to join. And I said, I've written to Guru Das Prabhu. I've invited him to please, that I've got 900 Prabhupada disciples for you. They're there. Would you like to? But for whatever reason, the connection was not made. But if there's some way I could Skype with him and have a one-on-one, I've been wanting to do it for years. So if you can help me a connection there, I mean, I know he's doing a program. When's his next? You're doing a program. Is it Dark Night of the Soul? Is that when he comes?
Yeah, we do yoga in the Dark Night of the Soul. I see him Wednesdays and Thursdays. Tomorrow morning is our Veda Care meeting where we meet with different people. We do what needs to be done, who's going to do what, like that. I'll talk with him on your behalf, of course. He's been busy writing this book many years. Now it's out of his hands. It's going to be published. He has more time on his hands to devote to different things, especially.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to say to Dineshwar Prabhu, in 2015, after doing the Rainbow Gathering in Vermont, I went out there for a week with Deva Madhava out of Ypsilanti Temple. He's developing an alternative community. They also bought a farm. It's all, younger devotees and around in their 30s, very progressive community, kind of as an alternative to the Detroit Temple. And I met Abhiram Prabhu for the first time while I was there in New York City. And I heard that he was going to go to Gita Nagari. He told the story that, he was Prabhupada's nurse at Bhaktivedanta Manor when Prabhupada had left Vrindavan, his last days. I don't know exactly what month he was in London, but he went there. And his next plan was to come to Gita Nagari. And he said to Abhiram, I believe Abhiram was the recipient where Srila Prabhupada stated that my only regret is that 50% of my mission has not been established. The 50%, as we all participated, is the book distribution, but the other 50% was to establish Daiva Varnashram, self-sufficient, Krishna-centered communities. And so then Abhiram asked Srila Prabhupada, how do you intend to do that? And he said, I will go with you to Gita Nagari and I will sit down on the land with you. He said this to Abhiram personally, and I will instruct you how this will be done. So Abhiram disclosed to me that because Prabhupada said this to him personally, he said, I'm with Vatsal right now, and we want to do a rural project anyway. But he said, I thought before I start doing something with Vatsal Prabhu, first of all, I should go to Gita Nagari because that's where Prabhupada said, he wanted me to do something with him. So we drove the 3.5 hours, myself, him, and someone named Bhakta John. And we met with the disciples of Devamrita Swami, who are running that community, Dhruva Maharaj and his wife Parijata. I remember going there in the 70s when there were, I don't know, maybe 300 Prabhupada disciples, and then Satsarup Maharaj's disciples, and then things changed hands to Bhakti Tirtha. Now it's in the hands of Devamrita Swami. And Abhiram Prabhu he said to me personally, he said, if we want to rebuild back Girinagari, I'm paraphrasing, to its former glory, of save several hundred disciples, instead of, because when I was there, I saw maybe a dozen. There was like hardly, this is not a criticism, but they were struggling. Devaramita Swami had imported some devotees from South Africa. There was still a few Bhakti Tirtha Swami disciples left over. And the president, Dhruva Prabhu, he was a workaholic. He was working the cows to make mozzarella for the restaurants in Philadelphia, New York City. Practically didn't see him. He's just a workaholic, like crazy. And Abhiram was proposing, he said, in order to bring the grahastas, he said, we need to establish cottage industries. That was his vision. I don't know exactly what he had in mind.
We had a cottage industry there. I was serving in that project, and we were women, we were out in vans selling heaven knows what, candles and paintings and this and that.
Even Mukta and I, we did it all.
Subsidizing the farm. But then they also had this cottage industry, if you will, of this yogi bar business.
Oh, that was fantastic. Those were great.
Which was quite big. But there was
Gaura Hari was in charge. Yeah.
There was a lot of external subsidy, if you will. Yeah, you have to figure out the financing of these things, as Jivan was saying.
That's I was treasurer there in 1977. And at that time, the farm was receiving $10,000 a month from the New York Temple, because it was at that time the New York Temple farm. And we had 30 cows milking. We were selling the milk to a commercial dairy. 30 oxen were in the barn doing not much, eating. And I'm looking at all that and I'm going, this is not exactly what Prabhupada had in mind. Something's wrong with this picture. And that's what led me to write my spiritual economics book. But
Paramananda Prabhu was there at the time, right?
Yeah.
Farmananda.
And I asked him about that, and he said I could run this farm in a very different way, but they will not allow me.
Said that. Who said that?
Paramananda. Yeah.
Did he
elaborate
what it was that he was going to do differently?
Well, Tamal was the GBC at that time, so if you know Tamal, you can connect those dots.
Yes, but the economy of the thing is the thing that's really the most interesting, because as we're saying, we were subsidizing with all these kind of slightly tricky things we were doing. I mean, people that were on the bump and grind out there going door to door selling heaven knows what.
Yeah.
So, and that was tough. That was not, was not easy doing that.
And we didn't understand what to do with that money. We should have bought our way out of modern civilization, but we did not. Anyway, you have to have a vision of what you're doing, and you have to think this through very clearly. That's the problem for the failure of our farms, as far as my estimation goes, that we've never really been clear on the concept, what exactly we are doing there.
Yeah.
Because why do you say that? Because I mean, at Gitanagari, we were literally floating in ghee. I mean, we really were.
Okay, well, that's a long discussion, and if we ever have some Vanashram Dharma Skype or meetings, we can go into that. No, that it's a question of what are you organized for? What are you trying to do? In general, in my assessment, we never really went to the village. We went to the countryside and we brought the city with us.
Right.
Consequently, we never got the result of living in Sattva Gun. Neither did we get the result of living in Rajagun in the cities. And so we struggled without understanding what we were doing And consequently, every ISKCON firm that I know of, besides Sri Varam Swami and the one in Mumbai, they're not doing very well at all. Again, because of vision or concept. They don't really have they're not clear on the concept.
Well, yes, I think that is a discussion that would take some fleshing out, because I'm interested in that. I've always been interested in the economic side of it, because what we were doing was not ultimately sustainable. So then everybody went out and got jobs. So
right.
Yeah, it's
also if I could just, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I'm just thinking, it's a lot. Let's face it, this is not easy. Like agriculture in the West in particular, like in India is one thing, right? In India is like a tropical country practically, most of it.
Oh, it is. They got 3 crops around.
Like let's just look here in Ontario, for example. Like right now, it's minus, 1 Celsius right now.
Oh, freezing.
Okay, like it's -1, snowing. So the life living off the land is like a real tough, very hard lifestyle. It's not an easy lifestyle. It's not like sitting in your apartment and you've got a gig doing what's it called, like tech work, computer work and stuff.
Gig work, yeah.
It's not like that. It's very, very different. So
very hands-on, very hands-on.
And it's a question of who and how many, and is that the model really that's going to work? Like that's the other thing. Like are we thinking that there's going to be people who are going to give up their tech work in Toronto and come up 3 hours north to this place that has no lighting? It's right. Well, it could, but it doesn't right now. Live off the land, have some animals, go out, look after your animals. Really, are we going to do that? Is that realistic? Or could we gradually kind of move in that direction while everyone still has their jobs, have a place which is kind of, like an emergency shelter for them?
I don't think it's going to happen until people are forced to. And
yes,
that's not too far away, in my opinion.
And that's why I'm thinking that let's develop something that accommodates people where they're at right now. So they don't have to give everything up and move up there unless they're ready to do that. And, as time goes on, and if the situation changes, at least you've got your dwelling, you've got the community, you've got the foundation of self-sufficiency. As far as like one of the things that I want to see on this property, which I may put in even before the main building, is a dome greenhouse. I want to put a really big dome greenhouse to start it off.
And also, Prabhu, maybe the Canadian government will help with subsidizing.
Oh, forget the government. It's all anything that the government touches is poisoned. You want nothing to do with the government.
Do you know about earth ships, Prabhu?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
That's Nanda Patni has a lot of experience with growing things. But I wanted to mention something else. I think it's really important that there's a way for devotees to make money. There can be cottage industries. There can be, like in Texas, there's a factory that produces prasadam nut butters, and people can work there and make money as well as live and farm on the land. I think that's really important. That'll be an attractive feature, that there's industry there for them to participate and make some money. Don't you think?
Absolutely.
If I may say something, to have a Vedic culture, a Vedic society, we need the cow and all her products.
Yes.
And so you're talking about industry, and if you remember the story, Lord Brahma is debating who do I bring first, the humans or the cow? And he decided that the cows first. Why? And I had an opportunity in our land when we went there. There hadn't been any cultivation of it, so there was foul land. We try to plant things directly on the ground, and they die. And now, when the cows came in, you're talking about permaculture and like that. They bring in, even with their saliva, they bring in all the good bacteria, the IMOs, the microorganisms that will digest that soil, that will produce humus or the topsoil that is necessary to grow food. The rest of the stuff is not going to come if we don't have the cows. So we had to begin with the cows, but in a smart way. And so nowadays, with ingenuity, American ingenuity, they're big digesters that can use the cow dung produced by 500 cows, turn it into electricity to power about 400 homes continuously. I mean, produced by the cows. The byproduct of that, of course, they turn the methane, to turn turbines, they heat it up and like that. But you still have the cow dung dry that can be used. And our cows, I noticed they love to lie on dry cow dung. That's just pretty much it. So in India too, now I realize I'm sort of connected. There's several independent groups. There's one particular lady near Delhi. She's trying to maintain and revive one species of cows. They're very small, and they don't produce a lot of milk, but they do produce cow dung. And she's now making logs out of cow dung, so to be replacing the wood that people use for cremation. And she has a thriving business with that. And like that, there's so many other things. So that I think, for what I can see, Prabhupada said, and he tells about that, Nanda Maharaj and that community of Vaishyas, they were very wealthy based on what the cows and their agricultural practices. But agriculture, I mean, you talk to vegan people, don't know. I said, well, what do you use for fertilizer? You don't want to use any animal products. But in your industry of what they call organic, they're feeding feather meal, blood meal, bone meal, fish meal, all that stuff that is the cow can produce. So we need to figure it out, starting from basic of the cow. Not everybody can be a cower man. That's why Varnashram comes in. You have those who have intelligence to
it's definitely going to take inspired souls who are dedicated and know what they're doing and how to do it.
Yeah. So, but it has to be a several people effort. A society is not just one person. So we have the tendency of, well, we're looking for a leader. That's fine. That's good. But you have to have both. You have to have a base of people that will want to work. We have to have the same goals. So we have to, it will take it, like you said, a think tank. How to implement it. Prabhupada gave us guidelines. But he said the economy should be based on what the cows are producing.
I think the ahimsa factor.
Concept. Yeah. And so I've seen successful regular people in California. They sell, for example, Fresno has a raw milk production and cheeses and butter. They're very expensive. I mean, a pound of butter is about $17, and you can't. It just flies off the shelves. And they have a conception of ahimsa up to the point where they give shelter, but very nice places to the cows. They take care of them, brush them. I saw a documentary by Michael J. Fox on dairy farmers in New York, how they survive. They got together and now they serve a different market. They don't go to the commercial dairy deal. Like Prabhu, you were saying that they were selling their milk to Gitanari, to another commercial. No, these farmers are going directly to healthy stores. There is a whole market of people who want ahimsa milk. We were approached in Los Angeles by the Indian community, businessmen. They said, we're ready to pay you $21, $30 per gallon of milk.
Well, this is 40 years ago.
That's the
77.
No. This 2 years ago, and now I just came from LA 2 months ago, and they're selling this.
I know. I'm talking about the getting agri experience was 40 years ago. So
the problem here, for example, is that the dairy industry is so regular. You can't make a move in that industry without government approval. Like, there is no way that if you had a cow, you could take the milk of that cow. But if you were to even give a glass of that to your neighbor, it's a crime.
Well,
Hawaii is kind of like that too.
It's called the milk mafia. Milk mafia. Yeah.
Wisconsin has approved the raw milk, and also actually, if you go to a farmers market, people sell their milk. So it's state by state. That's why we went to talk to Senator Mike Gaura, Tulsi Gaura's father. He's a senator. He has a chair in the agricultural department. And he was all willing. He was really enthused, but he was waiting to, the finance. Now the Vaishyas had to come in with a solid financial plans, because you need, you bring in cows. We've been feeding 40 cows. That was feed. That's another thing. Feed, it will be a great industry. Organic feed is very hard to find and very expensive, very, very expensive.
Do the cows not just feed off the grass and the lands?
Yeah, but then you have to find the perfect. Sometimes the grasses are not totally full of the nutrients they need.
Yeah.
Depends what altitude you are. Here in Hawaii, have 21 climates, and you can grow 3 crops a year. It's a fantastic place for agriculture. And then you have. They talk about government. There is probably 1 million acres. They're just vacant. And then you have the developers pushing. They want, Hawaii is the paradise. They just is that. So the value of it as a food producer. Now everything is mostly imported, even the milk. And they believe that even milk or organic produce and like that is disastrous. But now people are, now you see the shelves getting thinner and thinner here for some reason. Shipping companies, I don't know what the deal is. And so a lot of people are thinking that way. But I notice here, I go to buy feed at the feed stores, and that's another, like a Walmart. It's a big corporation. It's called Tractor Supply. And they're one of the 2 people that supply alfalfa, organic alfalfa. So if you want to have organic milk, you have to, of course, feed your cows that way. But to buy land in Hawaii is very, very expensive, very expensive. And I did find places, but I couldn't get. I don't know. Maybe I talked to the wrong people, but we talked to everybody we knew, devotees who were bankers, and they know we prefer to put our money into book printing, and that's our job. And so I said, that is very important.
Hold on.
But it goes hand in hand. If we want to be a society or we're going to be a cult, an individual thing, or whatever.
I'm sorry, Nurhari, I don't mean to interrupt you. Please forgive me. I have online here, unfortunately, he does not have Zoom, but I have online with me here Sabapati Prabhu, our godbrother from Australia, one of the early pioneers there. And Sabapati, I have with me Daneshvar, Jivan Mukta, Nandapatni, God Sister Rasangi, Shuddha Sindhu from Malaysia, Krishna Chandra is here. I hope I'm not missing anybody out. Anyway, you please repeat to me what you
myself and Bhavatrini.
And Nirhari and Bhavatrini, excuse me. So
Daneshvar Prabhu is not here anymore. I apologize.
Oh no. Anyway, okay. Anyhow, Sabapati, please share the important points that you were just sharing with me. You were with Srila Prabhupada in a room with some scientists, and the scientists were expressing their concern for feeding the world. Is that correct?
Yeah. On feeding feeding Asia, the poor people of Asia, like that, right? And Prabhupada said, I have flown over Australia. This was in Melbourne in 1974. And Prabhupada's answer was, I have flown over Australia and you have so much land here. He said, the government should donate land to us and we will manage the land and we will produce food. That was sort of like his answer to how to feed people, you know. Now, when he said that, I was the only devotee in the room with the three scientists. And Prabhupada, when he said that, he looked straight at me. And I always took that as an order to you know, begin a farm and to start farming as Prabhupada wanted. So in 1977, we purchased New Govardhan Farm in northern New South Wales in Australia, 815 acres of beautiful subtropical land for $80,000. And we went onto that farm, and within a couple of months we were producing all of our own food, and we bought 5 cows, and we had no water, no running water, no electricity, no toilets. You know, for the first 2 years, it was very austere. But anyhow, we began to farm the land and look after it. Unfortunately, when I was removed in the Bhavananda era, the people that took over, they gave up on the simple living and high thinking program, and but they never followed Prabhupada's instructions. Now the farms are basically used as a yoga retreat, right? The yoga teachers are there, all Mayavadis, and they don't allow any of the devotees to live on the farm. We have 800 acres, and only a few select devotees who are friends of Ramai Swami are allowed to live there. The other 800 devotees in the community all have to live outside. So actually, they have failed to follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions. It's a tragedy. We have 2 other farms in Australia, one of 600 acres, and another one of 650 acres, and there are about 6 devotees living on each farm. So the farms in Australia have been very, very poorly managed, and they've simply not followed Srila Prabhupada's instructions. Actually, one of the farms, at the moment, they are selling off blocks of land to pay for the Melbourne Temple debt.
Wow. So does anyone have a comment or a question for Sabapati Prabhu?
It's a symptom of a much more serious disease that has been plaguing ISKCON since Prabhupada left. You know, it's a disease that is everywhere. This lack of leadership, and this kind of you know, how, you know, our society is, like, you could see Ramai Swami, like you mentioned, Ramai Swami is in one, like, unless you're like the guru situation in ISKCON has fractured us. And it has completely undermined the efforts towards, anyway, I shouldn't be speaking like this. It's
go ahead.
It's the truth.
Like, it's just made it so difficult. It's made it practically impossible for devotees to work together without this, like, this idea that, you know, I belong to this group and they belong to this group. It's completely fractured our movement. This
party spirit.
Does anyone have a solution?
Pardon?
He's been GBC for 30 years, right?
Ramai Swami, 30 years.
And recently, he centralized all the temples. He centralized all the accounts, and him and Devanrita Swami, they are in charge of everything. Of course, you all know that that's completely against Prabhupada's instructions.
Yeah, about autonomy.
Does anyone have a suggestion, a solution?
So listen, Prabhuji, what is the solution, Sabapati, to all that you're describing? What's the solution?
Well, the solution is that Prabhupada gave the system for management, the direction of management. In what, 1972, where the devotees elect the temple president and the temple president elects the GBC, right? But now you have the situation where the GBC are in power and they elect the temple presidents and they control everything. Totally against Prabhupada's instructions. But if you implemented this DOM like that, where the devotees had a say in the management of everything, then you can change the situation. See, in Australia, when this Ramaswamy, he has 5 or 6 gundas, and when he has his annual general meeting, no one is allowed to attend. There is no transparency. We don't know anything, because he said, oh, they don't need to know. In Australia, you cannot even find the financial reports of the temples. He's a complete dictator.
You're saying no transparency and the devotees have no voice, basically, right?
No, if you try to even put up a proposal for the annual general meeting, he won't even look at it, right? He dismisses it straight away. Right? He's a complete dictator, right? And he has driven out 98% of his godbrothers and sisters. Right? All the early devotees, all the men who were temple presidents and leaders in Prabhupada's time. Actually, he's banned Udashrava, he's banned Bhagavatashraya, he's banned myself, he's banned Mandapa. we were all the pioneers that did all the hard work, you know.
Yeah.
Anyhow, it's a pretty terrible situation, and the temples in Australia, they've all been taken over by the Hindus. There are no white devotees in Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne, and Sydney and Brisbane temple.
Wow.
Like that. The few remaining devotees all sort of went to New Governor because it's such a beautiful area like that. But this has all been overseen by this Ramaswamy, who in the last 20 years has been chairman of the GBC 4 times, right? He's been the GBC 4 times. That's indicative of how useless the GBC are.
Yeah. Wow. Any comments or questions for Sabapati Prabhu?
Yeah, a comment that I have is
this is Jivan Mukta Sabapati here in the Toronto area. Go on, Prabhu.
You know, I decided, you know, in my mind long ago, I abandoned this whole idea of working within that kind of, you know, corporate ISKCON. Like you know, the future is not working with them. Okay, the future is working with finding like-minded devotees. Sometimes it means starting right from scratch, starting right over. And that's how I feel right now. I feel like that's why I bought this land. I am not looking to work with anyone affiliated within the ISKCON, you know, management structure. Bhakti Marg Swami is there. We're good friends. He came up to the property. He saw it. I told him right from the start, this is something that is going to be spearheaded by me, not the GBC, not this guru, not that guru. This is my property. I'm going to do something. I want to do something for Prabhupada, but I will never offer this to ISKCON or to the GBC to do anything aside from come and enjoy it if you want. And that's how I feel that the more the lesson that we have to learn is there's no point in trying to fix something which has been destroyed. It's beyond repair. You can't go back. You got to now try to kind of pick up the pieces and build something new.
Yeah.
Because the guru situation, and I don't want to get into the guru situation because I know that not all of you are going to agree with me, but you know, what happened after Prabhupada left fueled all of the anarthas that were there already. They were already there, but once Prabhupada left, they just went wild. Because if Prabhupada was truly left in the center, not just as a figurehead, but if we really, really all looked at Prabhupada as our spiritual master, and everyone else, Prabhupada's senior disciples, we respectfully see them as likewise as our, you know, Shiksha gurus, but without this sense of ownership over disciples. I mean, if you look at it, you've got these sannyasis that are supposed to represent the highest form of renunciation. They're like the wealthiest, the most powerful. They control all the assets. It's like the grihastas are the paupers. It's outrageous. So what could you do? What could you do? What I did.
Sabapati is responding to you, Jivamukta. Go ahead, Sabapati.
Example, this Indra Dumya, you know, the big guru rock star, wanted to come to Australia, and he wrote to his disciples and he told them that he wanted first-class tickets, right? So they got onto Singapore Airlines and they got some first-class tickets for $3,500. Now it's about $800 in $800 on economy, right? And he wrote back to them and he told them that he didn't want to fly Singapore Airlines. He wanted to fly on Qatar Air, and the tickets were $13,500, right? And he wanted two of them, one for him and one for BB Govinda Maharaj, right? You know, and the devotees were shocked, right? He really blew them apart. They couldn't believe it because, you know, and all the household devotees, they struggle to survive. They struggle to pay the rent and look after their families. And they just couldn't believe that he was demanding that they pay $13,500 for first-class airfares.
Yeah.
Now that's what's happened.
Well, that's why Jivan Mukta Prabhu is saying we need to start fresh.
We need. You can't. It's beyond. You know, it's a waste of time trying to go back and recreate something that we thought we had. You never had it, first of all. It was never there, and you're never going to have it.
I just want to say one more thing. Is everyone still there?
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. There's 5 of us.
Okay, so
Yeah, we're
there's
here.
one nice devotee. His name's Gaura Mandala Bhumi.
Oh.
And he went to Indonesia 40 years ago, right? On his own with no money or anything. There are now 3,000 devotees in Indonesia. There's some problem in Bali because Kavi Chandra came down and destroyed all of it. But he established a farming community on Sumatra, on the Indonesian island of Sumatra. There's 150 acres. There's 40 families live there. They have a beautiful temple and a school and a hospital and everything. Now he's set everything up according to Prabhupada's instructions. When he wanted to set the farm up, he prayed to Prabhupada for guidance in establishing the farming community. Now he has established it's an ideal farming community that Prabhupada wanted. It's fully Krishna conscious. It's run by the devotees themselves. There's no politics or anything. So it's actually one outstanding example of a farming community that is Krishna conscious. It'd be nice if you could all visit it, right? And see for yourself.
And what's the mood there? Is it sounds very inclusive, Gaura Mandala?
You know, it's like it's in the middle of there's 50 million Muslims in Sumatra, but these are all basically Balinese Hindus like that, and I'll tell you, I prefer to be there than Vrindavan or Mayapur. It's like heaven on earth. It's so
Well, how is it? What's the management structure that it's successful? Gaura Mandala Bhumi is not single-handedly overseeing it.
Gaura bought the land and set it all up, and he gives them all direction. He's the regional secretary, and they have a council. They elect the temple president every year or so. Actually, the devotees there are all so humble. None of them want to do it, but they all work together. They have an Easter ghosty every Saturday. They work everything out. They all have. Actually, he sold them lots of blocks of land, like a quarter-acre block for like $200, and they build their own house. They own their own house, and they own their block of land, because there's certain rules and regulation. And most of them were qualified school teachers out of university, and a lot of them they teach in the local schools in the area. So he's looked after them, and all of them have like 1 hectare of tapioca, which they make pretty good money from. So he's looked after them materially and spiritually.
Good leader.
And none of those are ever going to leave that place because they're so happy, right?
Wow.
And in the morning, there's like 50 or 60 devotees at Mangalati, and in the evening, same thing. And in the evening arti, they come together, and the temples, they didn't have electricity for 20 years. So they, the temple's like the center of their life, and they're all very simple, sort of very, very simple sort of people, but they're also happy, it's a wonderful atmosphere there. I highly recommend you all go and visit it.
They should make a video on it. Gaura Mandala Bhumi sounds more like a facilitator than a dictator. Am I correct in saying that?
Oh, no, look, they all love him, he's a really amazing devotee. He gave up his Australian citizenship to become a Indonesian citizen, and basically he hasn't worked with the GBC for 20 years. Doesn't even talk to them, right? He left them 20 years ago, and he's established 5 temples, 5 Radha Krishna temples in the western side of Indonesia. He originally started off in Bali, but everyone used to go there because it was a holiday place, and Kavi Chandra and so many different gurus go there and exploit the devotees and charge them money to get initiated. Gaura's washed his hands of that, right? But he's got an ashram he's got a temple in 2 temples in Jakarta, got a temple in Bandar Lampung, got the farm in Lampung, got a temple in Yogyakarta, got a temple in Sulawesi, like that, and all the devotees love him. He's an expert preacher. Actually, he's a genius. He can learn a sloka in 5 minutes and never forget it.
You should ask him to make a video for us. Or put him in touch with me. I'll do an interview with him. I'd love to hear from him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. Anyhow, listen, he works for the Indonesian Ministry of Culture, and actually he does a lot of the ministers' work himself because he preaches to them so nicely, and he's got in with them through the cultural aspect, because the national dance of Indonesia is the Mahabharata. Right? Oh, no, sorry, is the Ramayana.
Right.
Like that. And he's a puppet master. And actually, he represents Indonesia on UNESCO and goes all around the world doing business for UNESCO. He has met 7 heads of government. He's met 5 foreign ministers. Right? He knows all these big people. He's an advisor to one of the, they still have sultans in Indonesia. He's an advisor to one of the sultans. He's an advisor to the mayor of the city of Solo. Like this guy.
Wow.
No one preaches on the level of what he does.
No, nobody can imitate what he's doing.
Yeah, he is so humble, right? He is really an amazing devotee,
Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
So there's a little bit of life
We have Shuddha Sindhu here from Malaysia. Do you have anything to say to Sabapati Prabhu Shuddha Sindhu?
Well, he must know Gaura.
You know Gaura Mandala Bhumi Shuddha Sindhu?
I think I don't know.
Oh, you
I
don't
don't
know? Oh, okay. Gaura Mandala Bhumi. Yeah.
Where does she live?
She lives in Malaysia.
Where?
Where in Malaysia?
Malaysia is in.
No,
in
where
Asia?
in Malaysia? Where do you
where
live?
in Malaysia? In Penang?
In Penang.
Yes.
Oh, well, anyhow, Gaura is very well known all over Malaysia. I don't.
Sounds like you're missing out on a lot of good association, Shuddha Sindhu. The main.
Yeah, he goes there a lot. He preaches in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, and he went to Japan. He preached in Japan for 10 years. He can speak fluent Japanese. He speaks fluent Korean. He speaks Basra Indonesian. He learned Bengali in 6 months.
Wow, genius.
He's really something else, you know.
Yeah.
Then again, he is just so humble, right? He's. I don't know of anyone in the movement who has completely surrendered his life to serving Srila Prabhupada as much as what Gaura does.
Wow. Wow. You're so close to him and you haven't even heard of him yet, Shuddha Sindhu.
Yeah. You know, he gave up the advantage of having an Australian passport, which is one of the best passports in the world. He gave that up and became an Indonesian citizen.
Gaura Mandala Bhumi, Shuddha Sindhu.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't know.
Prabhu, I'm sorry, I gotta go.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your input, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Oh, glory to Srila Prabhupada, Hare Krishna. Anyway, everyone, I hope you could hear Shabapati Prabhu. He was giving his experiences from down under. He's one of the original pioneers there. He used to have a double-decker bus that, like in the mood of Radha Damodar, but he had a double-decker bus that he'd go and do Sankirtan book distribution, Harinam, all over Australia. And one of the original temple presidents, founded the first farm there, a couple of farms. Anyway, it's almost 10:30 here now, Canadian time.
Yeah, I need to go. So 11:30 here. I need to go.
Thank you, Bavatrini and Hari Prabhu for.
I think they left already.
No, I
left
see
only 3 of us.
They've
No more.
I can't tell.
Only 3 of us.
They've gone. So okay, they must have gone. Anyway, that was quite a marathon session. Krishna Chandra, I hope you found some inspiration there.
I hope. Thank you. I'm a little tired. I don't know how much I've absorbed, but I do my best.
Yeah, no, we're really talking about the immediate situation in the world right now. The writing that was on the wall by Prabhupada 44 years ago to start communities. And you can see intelligent devotees. Sorry, excuse me.
Oh, no, nothing.
We see that intelligent devotees, they weren't waiting for some other leader to figure it all out. Those who are Brahmins, they'll naturally take up that responsibility to do the needful, as Prabhupada would say. Do the needful. What is the difficulty? Those are do the needful. What is the difficulty? And this is going on. Three famous Prabhupada sayings. Anyway, I'd like to offer my obeisances to you, and maybe we'll see you on Friday. I hope, everyone, if you can make it. Vanchakalpa
Turviyascha kripasindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. See you soon.